buy this suspension. This is the best thing in the world. All right, enough of that influencer talk bullshit. Let's get an actual test here in Mexico on how the suspension handles. Hey guys, and welcome back. It's officially race season, and I have about a week to get this car prepped for GST class. I won the championship in street class last year with it, so time to bump things up a bit and I guess switch up my competition. I'll be running in GST, which is G Street Touring, and that opens up a whole lot for me to be able to do with this car. Now, because money doesn't grow on trees, I'm gonna do this in stages. So the first thing it's going to be is suspension upgrade. Then we'll worry about power, which means a stronger clutch, and then some wheels, tires that are a little bit wider and more aggressive, because aside from like aero and huge engine modifications, there's a lot you could do in street touring when it comes to this. So let me show you what I got. So we picked up a set of B16 Bilstein coilovers that are dampening and height adjustable, some adjustable end links for the rear sway bar, which I have an H&R sway bar on it already, which was allowed in street class. And then we got the creme de la creme, some camber mounts for the front from 034 Motorsports. So hopefully all this stuff I could get on with relative ease. Then I'm gonna get it aligned and corner balanced, and hopefully, with a bit of luck, we'll continue winning championships with this car this year. So I'm gonna skip the boring stuff. I'm gonna start taking it apart, and once I have everything out, we'll go about adjusting everything and getting it all dialed in. I don't have a lot of time. I, of course, waited till last minute to get this done, so I kind of got to hustle along. All right, so we got these all unboxed. Fancy. You got even your made in Germany and the Nürburgring logo. So, like I mentioned, these are Bilstein B16 coilovers. They're dampening adjustable, obviously height adjustable. These are top hats from 034 Motorsports, which will let me dial in the camber. My 034 Motorsports rear sway bar end links. Obviously, sticker pack, very important. People will say, why are you putting end links in only a rear sway bar? Well, I want this car to have a really sharp front end. It's gonna look kind of goofy with a lot of camber before I get the wheels, but I'm gonna have a lot of camber in the front. And the idea is to make sure that she corners really well. For autocross, that's very important. This car did push a little bit out of factory. Honestly, it wasn't too bad. The rear sway bar fixed a lot of it. So I think with the rear end, with the adjustable end links, the sway bar, the H&R sway bar that I have, the camber up front, and stiffer suspension, I think this thing is going to turn into a weapon. At least that's the idea. That's what I'm hoping for. Wish me luck. All right, so we got all the wheels off and the car off the ground, and I found a couple interesting things. One, my rear shocks were starting to leak, so I'm glad we're replacing them. And two, towards the end of the season, the performance wasn't there, and look at this. My rear sway bar, the nut came off, and it wasn't connected on this side. The other side is connected, but on this side, we were not. All right, so old suspension's out. There's a nice comparison. I just have to swap these top hats here, but these shocks were definitely done for. This is the one I mentioned was leaking. This one was not leaking, but I compressed it probably 5 minutes ago and it still hasn't come back to full length. So we're definitely gonna get a lot of performance just out of having not blown shocks. Old, grimy, new, and fresh. All right, so I kind of got the starting point dialed in per se. Usually with coilovers, I like to put them at about the halfway mark and start from there. These are not designed to obviously go super low. A lot of these slammed style coilovers, put them halfway, the car will be pretty slammed because they're designed to go real low. So this should put us at a pretty good amount. We're reusing the top hats. Everything else is going in new. These are all assembled, ready to get popped in. So we'll get the rear on. This is the easy one, and we'll move on to the front. One other thing I didn't mention is the dampening adjustment. They come factory at 1, which is the most comfortable, 10 obviously being the most ridiculous. We're also going to put them at about 5, but this is pretty easy to reach from underneath the car. I could adjust it as needed, but we'll start at 5. One more thing I'll mention while I'm installing these in, I orient it to be towards the back as it's easier to make adjustments on the fly and see from the back side. So I point where the adjustment is towards the back. Obviously this is all torqued. The yellow matches my calipers. I just got to clean them. Look at that. Kinda. It's a little bit different shade. One more thing worth mentioning is make sure you disconnect your headlight level sensor that's in the back. Otherwise you'll break it. But I'm gonna leave it disconnected for now because obviously we have it all done and together. I'll throw the liner back on, but we're gonna probably have to adjust the suspension as it settles, so I'm not gonna hook that up yet. I'll let the car sit for a day or two, let it settle and see where we're at. All right, rear is done. Before we move on to the front, we'll install the new sway bar end links from 034. They're adjustable. Why would you need adjustable end links? Well, there are many reasons, but it's pretty much to dial in the car. When you lower a car, these are clearly not adjustable, and it will cause preload on the rear sway bar, maybe make the car a little bit unstable at highway speeds and things like that, because essentially the sway bar will act like it's engaged or has tension on it. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason is because mine were old. Like, this is not the floppiest thing I've ever seen, but they don't really stay in place, where the new ones are really difficult to move. So that will also be a nice improvement. But I'm gonna just set these in as they are, about the same length as the OEM ones. And then when we go to get the car, corner balance will dial them in. All right, got the old passenger side out. Pretty easy if you have some spring compressors, because that way you could press it, wiggle it out. Obviously, I have the advantage of this being a Southern car, spent its entire life in the South, so I don't really have any rust to deal with, and putting PV Blaster on it made my life that much easier. This is the new setup. Clearly much shinier and fancier. And these are the 034 top hats that also double up as the strut bearing. And pretty much it replaces that. And depending how you bolt it, it depends on how much camber you have. We're gonna bolt it in at full camber. I think I mentioned it's gonna look a little funky, but once we have bigger wheels on it, it will look a lot better. Actually, since 034 Motorsports has such a cool concept that I've never seen before, I'll kind of show you how to put it together. So first things first, this is the nut that comes with the coilovers. This replaces the top strut. You could, in theory, put it on your stock stuff, but I don't know why you'd want that much camber, but soft springs. Either way, we'll remove the springs, or spring, break this nut loose. Jeez, who tightened this? Hercules? Tiny Allen key to be that tight. And we'll spin these about halfway up. Alright, we're about at the halfway mark. I'm going to put my adjusting screw facing out towards the world, because it'll make it easier to get to in the future. Now we'll slide our spring on. Collar. And this gasket and everything's kind of tricky to get all on at once. I got this started. No, I didn't. Alright, I got this started by hand and lined up. And we'll just tighten this all the way down. Now obviously I'm going for maximum camber, so it's going to sit like this. We want this mounted. This is, let's say, this is the driver's side of the car, so towards the outside of the car. These are going to be more towards the inside of the car. With that strut like this, we'll tighten it down. This doubles up as a bearing as well. Once this is tightened, we're ready to install. All right, all the suspension is now back on or installed. We'll get the wheels on, drop it down, and let it sit, see how it looks. I'm not going to lie, you could hear I'm out of breath. This strut here, I didn't clean out the knuckle well enough, and trying to get this to seat down here really kicked my ass. I can't believe it. But time to throw the wheels on, drop it on the ground, see how we sit. Probably let it sit overnight and recheck in the morning, see if we need to make any adjustments. Well, Jeep status is certainly gone. And it's actually pretty much perfect right where I want it. I don't want it too terribly low. I know I'm not gonna win any awards for slammed car, but there's that camber we were talking about. We'll let it settle overnight, and then in the morning we'll pull it out and see how she does. All right, so she sat overnight and we're hella low, boy. A little bit too low. When we first set it, I kind of liked it, but I'm probably going to raise it by about half an inch. I won't have enough time to get it aligned before the autocross, so we're going to end up towing this thing down. It should do okay. It's not corner balanced. We'll save that for another video, but I'm going to raise this thing, tighten up the rear adjustable sway bar end links, and then we'll take her for a spin and kind of get a much better idea of how it drives. All right, it's a little bit taller. I'm sure on video it probably doesn't come across. Not so slammed now. I think this is where I want it. As I mentioned, in the future, very near future, there's wheels and tires coming, so we're gonna need the space. We have all the camber in the world up front, so it looks a little bit funky, but let's take her for a spin and see how she drives. And yes, I remembered to connect the sensor for the headlight leveling, and the sway bar end links are tight. All right, first proper test drive with the new suspension. Drive straight, which is good. Like I mentioned, we'll get it corner balanced here in the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, I have to load it up into the trailer tonight because tomorrow we're going to the autocross, so I left myself no real time to get everything done. Where's traction control? Let's get an actual test here in Mexico on how the suspension handles. It made a difference, that's for sure. As I mentioned, last year we won the championship on 2 blown rear shocks, a disconnected sway bar, and a broken front strut bearing. So there's a big difference. If I don't do something, I know I moved up a class. Street touring is a lot more competitive, but if I do poorly, that's going to be on me, because this car right now, it points and shoots. Okay, there's a big difference. Maybe my influencer stab reaction was not too far off, because I'm quite impressed with what we're working with here. That being said, there's one more thing we got to do, and that's to get the proper lettering on the car, load it up in the trailer, and probably by the time you guys are watching this, I'll be at the next autocross. So thank you for watching. Welcome to 2026. Let's